And Showtime is one word, right?
Yes, sir.
Showtime TV.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. And we should be hitting live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I
Good
got it.
evening. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Showtime TV. And this special edition, this is a special Juneteenth edition. On the topic of discussion is men standing up in their communities. I have 3 strong, courageous gentlemen who do just that. I have Sharif Green. I have Minister Robert Muhammad, who is the minister at Mosque number 35 in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Is that 2800 Washington Street, brother?
Yes, sir.
19802, Wilmington, Delaware. All
That's right. That's right.
I got Pastor Mark Hopkins out of Chicago. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for being a guest on tonight's program.
Welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay, I'm going to have each of you gentlemen just introduce yourself to some and acknowledge to others who you are. Just briefly say a little bit who you are and what is it that you do. So we're going to start off with Sharif.
Good evening, everybody. Sharif Green, LMSW. I'm a psychotherapist by trade. I also have a business called Father's Defense to help people with custody and child support concerns. Yeah, got my master's from Springfield College, undergraduate from DSU. I'm a father of 2 beautiful daughters, and I just got married Saturday.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Were you nervous?
Nah.
Okay. All right, Minister Robert.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I am a student minister, Robert Muhammad. I am the student minister of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan here in Wilmington, Delaware. The mosque is located on 20 streets, and all are welcome on Sundays at 11 o'clock. And so that's my duty and station here as the servant of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam and all oppressed people throughout the world.
Minister, when you were saying the address, you kind of cut off a little bit, so you want to repeat the address for those who may not have heard?
Yes, sir. Mosque number 35 is located on 2800 Washington Street in Wilmington, Delaware. Sundays at 11 o'clock is our regular meeting. All are welcome. Our people are welcome to come and visit.
Okay, and Pastor Mark, tell us about yourself.
All right. I'm Pastor Mark Hopkins. I'm an electronic technician by trade. I'm also an author, motivational speaker, author of the book What's Stopping You, which is a motivational book. I don't know if it went clear, but
Yeah, there you go. It's clear. Yeah.
Okay. What's Stopping You? And it's motivational book. So again, I am an author, pastor, and motivational speaker as well.
Okay, once again, this is part 1, the Juneteenth special in honor of Juneteenth, which is a holiday that's celebrated federally. And just maybe last year or so, began to be recognized as a federal holiday. And many say it's a celebration of to free the African Americans, if you will. So my first question, I'm going to throw this in the air for anyone who wants to address it. There are those who say, man, well, this Juneteenth, yeah, they say free the slaves, but man, many of us, we still enslave people. So let me ask you all 3 of you, do you see us as African Americans still being enslaved people, or are we totally free? Anybody start off? That's a big question.
So America is designed that it's always going to need a lower class, and those lower class has always been people of color, and more precisely us. That's how capitalism works. So no matter how they cover it up through the lower class, mass incarceration, you know what I mean, until the foundation of America is fixed. You know what I mean? We're always going to be in some form of slavery.
Okay. Anyone else want to address that?
Yeah, I'll jump in there, and I look at myself as being free. I believe that we are we are free. I believe that that there are residue of the change that was on us back in the day, and we're still living with some of the residue in our minds, and and we're living believing that we're still work in slavery, not free. We're not free enough to live this life without the things that's causing us to be bound. A lot of times we get ourselves, we do things too. Sometimes we'll cause ourselves to, we'll put ourselves into positions to get treatment. So not taking away what the things that are being done, but sometimes we have to get that mindset that that we are free. We belong in this world just like anybody else. There's nobody better than us, and we got to get that mindset. There's nobody that's strong enough. If we got the right mind, that's strong enough. Don't allow nobody to bound you and your mind. So we have to change our mindset.
Well,
Yes.
before, go ahead, Mr. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, thank you, Brother Omar, for allowing us on this wonderful program that you have. My answer to that question would be yes, sir. We still are. Brother, in truth, in the 60s, it was the Kerner Commission report that had come out after the death of our brother, Martin Luther King. And in that report, they had said, the Kerner Commission, that it was two Americas, one Black and one white. And it was some other variables in there. 50 years later, they did the same study. And the study suggests that, yes, there are two Americas, one white and one Black. The economic difference, if Black people, our economic situation is dismal. The average Black person's income, I'm talking about us as a people, 30 to 60 million of us, average about $6,000 a year in income, compared to white people, $225,000. It would take us 200 years to equal whites in pay. That is not by accident, that is by design. No people, brother, can give you freedom. Freedom must be taken. And I would say, why are we still in this slave-like condition? Because as it was with the children of Israel, they were not free until they were separated from the Egyptians and from the Egyptians' religion and way of life. Likewise, it is for the Black and the brown and the red here in America. No people can be a self-respecting people when they allow their enemy to teach them and to give them their concept of who God is. And these two mistakes that Black people have been covertly guided into by our former slave masters. The Jews do not take on the Germans' religion or their concept of who God is. And they are an intelligent people. We should do the same. So yes, we are enslaved. In fact, about it, 85% of the planet, Black, brown, red, yellow, and white, are what is called the people that are ruled by the 10%. But we, the Black and the brown, are more enslaved because we don't know self, don't know God, or don't know the enemy of God.
A couple topics of discussion or issues when it comes to the African American community. Minister Robert talked about the 60s, and I remember in the 90s growing up watching Eyes on the Prize. And it kind of, if you look at Eyes on the Prize, they talked about issues like mass incarceration. Man, African Americans in this history, in this country, in this history of this country, were overpopulated in the prison system. You look at the 1960s to 2022, it's still the same issue. Let's look at police brutality. I mean, man, I remember, looking at Eyes of the Prize, there was an organization called the Black Panther Party, where
Yes,
they
sir.
stood against black police brutality. And if you look at 2022, I mean, just look at maybe over the last 5 or 6 years, there have been major issues involving the police and African Americans. You know, Trayvon Martin, you know, Mike Brown, and then there's so many different individuals who got beaten. And see, a lot of people think this is new because it was on social media, but you listen to somebody like the Black Panther Party, they say, look, man, this is going on back in the 60s.
Right, that's right.
So, man, so why is it, I'm just throwing this question in the air, how is it that police brutality and mass incarceration is still a prominent issue in the African American community? And as a matter of fact, there are those who say it's even worse. Would you agree with that or not?
Mhm. Yes, sir. May I, brothers, go first?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Well, in the Bible, in Holy Quran, they were talking about Pharaoh. His aim, he saw the children of Israel multiplying, and he said they would be a most troublesome species if we don't do something about it. They always knew, Pharaoh always knew that it would be a deliverer to come to rescue the children of Israel out of the hands of the Egyptians. Well, that was a sign of what was to happen today. The aim of the enemy was to kill the male and spare the female. That was the conspiracy of Pharaoh. That is being played out here in America among us. Kill the male, but spare the female. How do you spare the female? She's downtown making $150,000 to $200,000 a day. The Black woman is in college. She is getting the degree, but the Black man is in jail. The Black man is dead. He doesn't have any education because the plot is on him to kill the male. Why kill him? Because God has chosen him to be the new ruler in America and throughout the world because of our suffering. God has chosen us, and the enemy knows this, but we don't know ourselves. And so we are being herded like cattle into jails, into a lifestyle that God is not pleased with, into fighting and killing one another. That what you and I see is the effect, but the cause is unseen, but the effect is what we see. And then we point the hands at the little brother in the street that's killing one another, but we don't see the big hand that's unseen.
Anyone else?
Yeah. I don't know, the other brother want to say something or?
Go ahead, I yield.
Okay. You know, that's why I still stick with the mindset. I stick with the mindset, you know, because we can't allow ourselves to have excuses and to live with those excuses. We have to have a mindset, you know, to come together, to turn ourselves. There's nobody gonna turn us around but us.
That's right.
You know, we can continue and talk about what somebody is doing to us all day long, but what are we gonna do for ourselves? That's what I'm saying. You know, we have to come together and grow as a people ourselves. You know, and we can't, you know, we can't worry about what somebody else is doing to us. As long as we putting ourselves in a position, you know, we need to be out there opening up the businesses. We need to be out there beautifying our property. We need to be out there making our area and our homes look good, raising the equity in our area, doing the things that's going to bring us up out of the condition that we're in. We have to do that as a people, and stop relying and asking. You know, we talk about the enemy, but we say so much about an enemy, but then we're so busy trying to get the enemy to help us. You know, and I'm not saying anything about an enemy, but what I'm saying is we as a people, you know, we have to come together. Every other race, and I'm not gonna say every other, but they are together. And I can't fault Caucasians for being together. I can't
That's right.
fault Indians for being together when they come into America and start buying hotels and gas stations. You know, I can't fault them for being together and improving themselves. But what are we going to do to improve ourselves?
Yeah. So in regards to the mass incarceration, I don't know what the exact number is, but the prison system is astronomical, brings an astronomical amount of money to the state. So they're always going to pick the low hanging fruit. And in our neighborhoods, in our situations, we are the low hanging fruit. We're targeted. And one of the things is like you have, we do have, each of us can make our own decisions and do have decisions to make, but it's like, do you want an apple or an orange? And you don't even know, you have no idea that a peach is over there. You know what I mean? So it's like you choose your apple or your orange and not even knowing that the best thing is the peach. You know what I mean? And limit those choices and limit those ideas. I don't really have an answer for that, but I know that when I graduated, some of the older dudes in my neighborhood was like, they congratulated me on graduating, and they said that, now you can sell dope, and this is exactly what it said. You can sell dope. All you need is 7 clients. That's all you need, and then you get whatever money you make from your paycheck, you bank that, and then you spend your dope. You spend the money that you make selling dope, and only keep 7 clients. That's what they was telling me with a degree. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm like, I didn't get no degree to sell dope. You know what I mean? But it's the options and choices that's laid out in front of you are crazy. No, when I got my degree, nobody told me I could flip a house. Nobody told me about some stocks or something that I could invest in. But they did say, hell, I can go down to Florida and pick up 2 pounds. And you know what I mean? And I can start at this part of the game and not this part. There's no corner boy. Back in the 90s, they stood on corners and stuff. So it's like, so I understand, like we have choices that we can make, and we are in the information age where everything's on you got a little computer in your hand, but when you get in that type of message from people around you, people that you trust and people that you love, you know what I mean? It can cloud your judgment a little bit. And in regards like police brutality, it ain't nothing new at all. It's just now we got cameras in their head. Everybody got cameras in their hand, and you catching it and you're exposing it to the world. Like the Vietnam War. I think the Vietnam War like lost its popularity once photographers and videographers start showing deaths and stuff. And then America fell out of love with the Vietnam War. It's the same thing with police brutality. It ain't nothing new at all.
Brother Omar.
Oh, sure, go ahead, Mr.
Yes, sir. And to add what Brother Sharif was saying, as you know, originated, and the Irish was those that when they came over here, they were down in their luck a little, but they were given the opportunity to get a come up by going after runaway slaves. And that's how the police department began. It was the Irish that was hired to go after runaway slaves. And so the process is still the same today. In order to make money, in order to do big business well, lock up our people, by getting them involved in criminal activities. When you do not offer freedom, justice, and equality, the human being will resort to the first law of nature, and that's self-preservation. And so whenever you put a people in this kind of condition, then don't give them a way out, that's why there's robbing and stealing and murdering in and around our community, is because we rob and steal where we live when there is no other alternative or other activities for us to exploit except for basketball, sports, or making people laugh. Other than that, the other avenues are very difficult for us to accomplish. And that's why really separation is the answer.
I want to go back to Pastor Mark. You said something very significant that we don't, if we come together. So let me ask you, and I know Minister Robert Muhammad, you can tie this in well, but for Minister Robert Muhammad, I know the Nation of Islam has always stressed to come together as one and work together as a community. So let me start off with Pastor Mark, then Minister Robert Muhammad, and then Sharif, you want to add, what is it for years and years and years, decades and decades that have kept us from not coming together? I mean, is it egos? Is it personalities? Is it everybody want to be chiefs and nobody wants to be Indians, or whatever how you say that? Saying, what is it?
You know, I mean, I understand that. You know, I remember when I first joined the Marine Corps back, you know, in '86. You know, I asked, you know, me and a few of the Marines were standing around, you know, black brothers that were also Marines. And we were talking, and I said, you know, we should come together and start a business. You know, I'm 19 years old saying this to them. And the first thing one of them said is, you know, black people, we can't get along. You know, that shot, you know, right down off the back. It's like, you know, we can't seem to get along. We can't seem to take care of business. We can't seem to move in the right direction. We can't seem to come up with a good plan and work where everybody can benefit, instead of one trying to be the kingpin, you know, do something where everybody can benefit, not looking at oneself, but looking at the whole. You know, that's the problem, I think, with us. You know, we're thinking about right now, and God's saying a good man blesses his children's children. And he's talking 3 generations away. Are we thinking 3 generations away, or are we thinking now? You know, we need some businesses. We need to be able to create businesses that's going to last for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations. Things that America needs. We part of America. What are we doing to produce something that America needs? Let's start thinking on that level, something that's going to be around for years. I mean, the company I work for they've been in business for 160 years. You know, thriving for 160 years. We're going to have to start thinking of businesses that's going to be able to thrive for 160 years, 200 years, way after I leave this place. It's still going to have to be going on and growing, you know, and that's how we gonna have to start thinking. We're not thinking for today. Back in the day when they came out that ran the Underground Railroad, they didn't do all that for them. They did it for us. You know, they sacrificed then for what we have now. What are we sacrificing now for what we're going to have in the future?
So Minister Muhammad, what is it that keeps African Americans from coming together?
Yes, sir. Well, the first thing that we have to dig into is, what is the cause? What is the cause of our division? See, Black people originally are the real brother of one another. Long before there was ever a Caucasian on our planet, we lived together. We loved one another. But what happened that now it is so difficult for us to love one another? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan taught us that when we were brought over here, if we all read that book, the Willie Lynch, and how it was sown in us of envy and jealousy, and the light skin against the dark skin, all right, the fine hair against the coarse hair, or the so-called fine hair against the coarse hair, the old against the young. These were the things that the Willie Lynch used to foment envy and jealousy among Black people. That's why the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is most important, because what did he teach us? The love of self, the knowledge of self, all right? The respect of self, the respect of your woman. And so when you come in, we can't love one another if we don't know who we are. And so the scripture says, love God with all thy heart, soul, and mind, and then thy neighbor as the same. But not the God that our former slave masters taught us. That's not the true God. That's not the God that the Jesus Christ represents. And so when we come in love with each other, when I look at my brother, no matter if he's from Africa or from the Dominican Republic, see, we thinking that our brothers and sisters that speak Spanish is different from us. No, they were just colonized by the Spanish slave master. We colonized by the English slave master. And because we look at somebody speaks Spanish and we speak English, we think that we are different. But that's not true. And so an enemy has come in between us, and because we outnumber them 11-1, their greatest weapon is deception and keeping us fighting and killing one another. And so the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has displayed in his 40 years among us that Black people can love one another, can do for self, can come together and do business. And this is what the Nation of Islam is doing all over the country and throughout the world. And when we come into love of self and don't give a dog on what the enemy thinks, then you'll see us exploding.
Sharif, you mentioned at the top of the program that you have a master's degree from Springfield College and your bachelor's from Delaware State University, and you're also a member of the Omega Psi Phi. I don't know if you want to comment on the question previous, but you can, but I also want to ask you the significance of, particularly we as African-American men, talk about the significance of us getting our education, getting our master's degrees, getting our PhDs, or even getting a trade, because college is not for everybody. So some people, they might want to get a trade in plumbing or electrician, but just no matter what it is, we're furthering education. So I want you to talk about the significance as we as men in terms of furthering education, and talk about your participation in the Omega Psi Phi. Like, what does that do for you as an individual? Does it make you a stronger man? Does it make you a stronger husband, a stronger father? All that good stuff.
Let me take it back to the other question.
Sure.
If it's okay, I'll be real
Yeah,
brief.
sure. Go ahead.
I think African Americans they struggle getting together, coming together,
Right?
because we're still in our infancy stages as a culture. Number one, but in that, like, we can't even agree on what an African American is. Is Elon Musk, born in South Africa, now living in America, is he an African American? Is a white person whose great-great-great-grandma was Black, are they African American because they have, what I mean? We can't even agree on what African American is. A couple of years ago, we was Afro American and Black and Negro, and you know what I'm saying? Right, so right. Until we can really establish what makes a Black person, what an African American is, you know what I mean? Like I said, we're still in the infancy of it, and I think that's been like one of the biggest challenges, and not even a challenge. I just think it's time wise. 300 years old is a race, is a race of people. 500 years old is a race of people, something like that. So, I just think, cultures take thousands and thousands and thousands of years to develop. You know what I mean? I think we're just still in our infancy stages of it. As far as education, yes, I highly agree on some type of formal education. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's you learning how to garden, learning how to be a mechanic. A matter of fact, it's two. I think you should hone two skills, a trade and also some type of formal education, if you can get somebody to pay for it. I'm not a fan of this, the debt that the college system, that the financial aid system put people in.
Exactly.
Amen to that, bro.
Right. But if you can get a decent scholarship, you know what I mean, then I'm all for it. But I came out of Dell State, in 2000, and you know, I was making 20,000 a year. You know, that's gross. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, how am I supposed to pay back student loans and I'm making $20,000 a year? I think the average salary in my field was 25. You know, psychology. You know, you have to go to your master's to make any type of real money. You know what I mean? So, but I'm always a fan of education. It doesn't always have to be formal education. You should always be trying to learn and develop yourself. As far as the bras go, I am a member of Omega Psi Phi. It's aside from the brotherhood, it's the connections. You know what I mean? Like, I can go anywhere with $20 in my pocket and know I've done it. Go down to Virginia, I got $30 in my pocket. I go down to Virginia, I'll leave with $70 in my pocket. You know what I mean? We're in a full stomach. You know what I mean? Or if you need a job, it's a phone call away. A car is a phone call away. I think it's valuable with any frat really to establish those type of connections. So yeah.
So Sharif, staying with the Omega Psi Phi, what is it that you gentlemen have done in communities? Because a lot of times when people think about fraternities, they think about the stepping, the dancing. Sometimes, unfortunately, they're hazy. But you guys do community service. So what type of community service have you done as men in the community?
Well, we got dozens of national programs. Me myself, I've done serving the homeless, the Salvation Army, clothing drive, the male female togetherness forum. I ain't gonna say what the actual name of it is, but we have a forum where like a males and females come together and debate to kind of resolve some whatever is going on between us. Let me see. We have oh man, we have those are just the ones that I know I participated in. But yeah, it's a lot of community charitable things that's necessary that we do as a fraternity, and that we keep and that we make sure that we're known for as a fraternity. And it's a beautiful thing, like the Junior Achievers program, and all types of stuff, man, all types of stuff.
Exactly. Pastor Mark, I want to go back to you because on top of the program, you showed your book that you have written. So how significant is it, for the children, the women, the men, to see African American men writers, telling our story? Because for the longest time growing up, I couldn't tell you how I really didn't know too many African American male writers. When you go to school, the books were written by those who were non-African American. But I've become a writer myself. But talk about the significance of we as men being writers.
Well, no, I think it's it's very significant. It's very needed. I think that the youth need to see that there are, African American men that are writers, that are, opening businesses, that are, opening nonprofit organizations. It's kind of like the company that God is giving me the WECAN, which is WECAAN, which stands for We Can Achieve Advancement Through Networking. And that's for the youth, boys and girls from 8 to 18 years old. We have, they need to be a part of organizations that, can teach them professionalism, can teach them trades, can teach them how to interview, can speak motivation into their spirit, to let them know that they can do it, that they can be the best, they can achieve the goals that they're shooting for, that they're trying to achieve, that there's nothing stopping them from doing it. And the only person that's stopping them from doing it is normally it's just ourselves. So, we have to give back. I mean, that's the only way I think they're gonna get it. When I was in California, I put together I was putting together a softball team for the kids. I had 35 kids, you know, and it wasn't just black children. I had one white child. I had some Mexicans, and I had some blacks, and they all was coming together. They all wanted to play baseball. They practiced together. They played against each other. I used my money to go out and buy catcher's mitts and gloves for them.
Right.
But you know, when I'm walking down the street and one day one of the kids bypassed me, and you know, my job changed my hours, so I couldn't do it anymore. One of the kids, Mexican, walking by me with his mother. He looks up and says, "Hey, coach, hey, coach, when we gonna practice again?" You know, a sincere question coming from a child, but it's something that was poured into them. We have to start pouring into the youth, you know, in order to change them and better them.
You know, Minister Robert and Pastor Mark, both of you gentlemen would be considered what in the community as men of God, because you're representing a particular religion that you practice. You're also seen as leaders. And I'll tell you, bro, being in your position is not easy because you're under the microscope. There's temptation. When I may say temptation, there are those who may come to you with bribery, money. There may be females coming to you, want to do this, that, and the other. Man, that's a tough position. I mean, you always got to, it's like you got to live a perfect life. Because any little thing that you may do, it hit social media, it hit the papers, and the members who will follow under your leadership, they may stay talking and whispering inside the mosque, inside the church. They may decide to leave. So I want to ask you too, well, being in that type of leadership, how tough is it? I mean, what keeps you humble as a man? What keeps you to live the right way? Because, you know, just because somebody holds a title doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they best for the people. So, I mean, you're in a tough spot because, hey, man, any little thing you do, and like I said, there's temptation, there's bribery, there's all kinds of stuff, and people will set you up just to see you fall. This may have happened to you in the past, it may not have, I'm not sure, but just as one who are leaders and one who are, well, people consider men of God, how do you stay steadfast? How do you stay positive? Let's go with Minister Robert Muhammad first.
Very, very good question, brother. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible where Jesus says, "My yoke is light, my burden is easy," or "My burden is easy, my yoke is light," something like that, Pastor. But and what Minister Farrakhan said to us is that, see, the Jesus, even though it was very burdensome, it seemed, even though he had the world on his shoulders, he wasn't carrying it. It was the God that was carrying the burden for him. So that's why his yoke is light, his burden is easy. See, so with me as a student, that's why the minister so wisely said, we are all students. That means to me as a student in his ministry class, I'm really right along with the other students in the class. I am growing, evolving, I'm making mistakes, but the burden is light for me because they're not my followers. They belong to Minister Farrakhan. He just sent me as a student to watch his flock, and I just repeat his words. And so, yes, I do have to live and discipline my life as the disciples, when they came to Jesus, he went fishing. And the fish that he said, cast thy net on the right side. And when he went out, he brought in eels, snakes, all kinds of sea life. And what this means is different characteristics of the human being that comes into the church and into the mosque. But we have to discipline our life to the life that the Jesus taught and trained us. That's why we become his disciples. In the word disciple is the word discipline. We have to discipline our life. And that is what we are striving to do. I'm striving to do is to discipline my life to the laws, rules, and regulations of Almighty God as taught by his Christ. his servant, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, and by disciplining my life, then even though I may make mistakes, you know, which I will and I have done, and I thank God for the mistakes and the errors that I've made, but the minister has not thrown me away. And so I should give that same courtesy and privilege to the next brother and sister that comes into the mosque.
Pastor Mark?
Well, you know, I'm gonna say that, you know, one thing that crossed my mind was, I mean, a few things crossed my mind, but one major thing that crossed my mind was, and it's something my ex-wife used to say, don't lose your witness. Don't lose your witness. And I don't want to lose my witness. And she used to say that. And until she mentioned that, I actually had never heard it before. But, you know, that's something that we don't want to do. I mean, if you're calling yourself, you are a Christian. None of us are perfect. You are a Christian. You know, we strive. We're not perfect. We strive to be perfect. We strive to live a life with Christ, and we don't want to lose, you know, our witness. You know, how can I, you know, go out and talk to someone? And even with this Facebook, I mean, it's, you know, you pretty much, you know, online here, you can be pretty much, you know, across America and throughout the world in 10 seconds, you know, and if you're not careful, you know, you don't want to lose your witness. How can you sit and say one thing 1 minute, you're talking about God, and the next minute, you know, you're doing something totally, completely the opposite? You know, that, you know, people want to see that, and people can see right through that, you know. So we have to be, you know, we have to do the right things, you know, not even just because I don't want to lose my witness. I do it because I want to be in God. You know, I remember times when I first came, I used to shut the bars down. You know what I mean? You know, I was a partier. You know, I have a Scotch and 7-Up in one hand, a Miller's Draft in the other, and a cigarette in my mouth. You know,
You got it going on. You got a lot of
yeah,
fun.
you know, those are, and then I'll be the last person to leave out the club. So, you know, I shut bars down. You know, but I give God the glory and I give God the honor that it's, you know, that I haven't been in a club in over, you know, 12, 13 years, when God took that from me. You know, I remember going to church. When I was going to church, I was helping in the facilities ministry, helping in the church. But then when I got out from church, straight to my car and pull out a cigarette, you know, battling that, you know. So people are, and I haven't had a cigarette since God took them from me, 12, 13 years. So glory to God. You know, I can't frown on people, because I've seen people do the same thing. Come and help in facility ministry, and then go outside once they were done, pull out a cigarette. And I told the guy, I said, yeah, you know, I had the same problem. God took it away, you know, and he'll take it away from you as well.
That's right, brother. That's right.
From you as well. So we can't, you know, we all are going through. We all are, you know, but we have to do the right things. You know, we have to do the right things.
Yes, sir.
For your own character, own character.
Well, one of the leaders that we all admire from the past, Brother Malcolm X, and he shared with the community how he used to be in his past. So I want to ask a follow-up question to both of you, if you want to answer this. Is it best for, particularly a man who was in a religious leadership position, that he be honest up front, right from the gate, to let the community and his members know that he used to do this, that, and the other in the past? Because the only reason I say that is because if he doesn't, there will be those who may know him back in the past, what he used to do back in the past, who will bring it up, and people start, oh, you know, he used to be like this, oh, he used to be like that. So is it best, once again, is it best for a man in a leadership position, man of God, to be up front, or even not a man, just being in any type of leadership position? Is it best for him to be honest and upfront from the beginning, say, listen, this is what I used to do back then?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
go ahead, brother.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir, brother. The minister has shared with us his life
Okay.
before he came to the Nation of Islam. And Brother Malcolm, the minister who was Brother Minister Farrakhan's mentor in New York City.
Right.
And Malcolm at one time would tell you, I mean, you look at Malcolm's life, he didn't have to say, I mean, his life was, you saw it, you know, in the movie or
Right.
whatnot. But see, there's a balance to that, brother. Yes, we should, but we should not stay there. We let the people know that we did not drop up out of heaven, that we came up out of hell just like they did, you know? And so I told the brothers and sisters, see, I was an athlete and very good, but hey, I had a problem. I smoked weed and I played with the girls. So when I came to Islam, I had to clean up because we're out of luck with God if we don't clean up. So I strove to overcome those issues and problems. And then once I got rid of those, there were other internal demons that I had to overcome. You see, so you let the people know that you have the same struggles, but where you and I get the medicine from is from our leaders and our teachers. And that's where Allah has blessed me to be successful. I'm not perfect. I got a long way to go, but Allah has blessed me to overcome some demons. And I let the people know. And then the people leave there and the mosque say, that brother was real. You know, I feel what he was saying, because we can act like we are holy and thou, but the people know.
Right.
The people know. Now you know. So let's not stop faking it. You know. So yes, we should be an open book. And I remember the minister saying to us, whenever you see Jesus, he just has a loincloth on, but his whole being is exposed, meaning that Jesus exposed himself. He did not leave anything uncovered. And when the people saw him, the people would throw darts at him. See, when they look at him, look at Jesus, because he's naked. And this is what happens when we as preachers mount the rostrum, and as imams, when we mount in Jummah prayer, we are like naked. And the people see our defects. You know, look at him, look at his pimple here. You know, he got a gap between his teeth. Oh, he's fat, he's skinny. You know, we take a bath in front of the people that come. And if we can overcome that, and in fact about it, brother, the minister said, you got more enemies in the audience than you got friends. But you can't take the enemies and what they think about you and use that against them. You got to use the medicine, the Bible, the Holy Quran, the proper word to feed them up out of their sickness and up out of their disease. And that is the role of a minister and a pastor.
Pastor Mark, you have any comments?
Yeah, same here. You know, I agree with what he said. You know, we have to be able to express who we are, where we came from. You know, it says in the Bible that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony.
That's
right. That's a testimony that you came through. You know, the same problem that you dealt with, somebody else is dealing with it right now. You know, so if you're not exposing yourself, you know, that testimony right there might be the testimony to set that other guy free.
That's right.
Or that girl free.
Beautiful,
you know,
brother.
so they have to know that they're not the only ones that go through. We all going through. We all have issues that we have to get over. You know, we all have temptations that we have to go through. we all have problems that we have to get over, you know. But I think the difference is, and I'm not saying all ministers or all preachers or all, you know, some, you know, like now. I mean, hey, you know, me and my wife, we've been now we're divorced, but we've been apart for over 5-6 years. You know, I haven't been with any woman. You know, when I go to my bed alone. You know, don't nobody come in my house. You know, so, you know, we have to be that way, because how can I stand
That's
to
right,
say
brother.
one thing and doing something else? I
That's
wouldn't
right.
even be true to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Brother Sharif, there are those, and I've heard people say this, you know, speaking of leaders, who say, you know, one of the reasons why we as a people are not moving forward, we don't have no leaders today. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all of them, they did. So we ain't got no leaders today that can lead us to freedom, that can lead us to the point where we need to go. What's your response to that?
Then step up. You be the leader. So like you know, and you can start small. Everybody thinking something on some grand scale. Get to know the people on your block. Be a block captain. Control your street. Make sure ain't no foolishness going on your block. You know what I mean? You know, it don't take much. You step up. If you're looking for a leader, then you be one. That's simple.
All right. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna ask this question because this particular question has been on my mind for, you know, a good amount of time, maybe 5-6 months. Let me give you a scenario. You have a mother and her 2 kids in the house. She meets a gentleman. He moves in. Now the gentleman is not working, but he says, "I'm the man of the house." Is he the man in the house? She's the one that's working. She's the one that's paying the bills. She's the one that's buying the food on the table, putting clothes on the children's back. And this gentleman, this dude is like, he's just sitting home, not looking for work, maybe playing video games. But yeah, he says he is the man of the house. So I've been going back and forth with this. So let me ask all 3 of you gentlemen, or whoever want to answer this question: is he the man of the house? Because leadership starts at home.
Right. Yes. No, sir, brother. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about it's not a conspiracy. Well, it is a conspiracy, again, to kill the new ruler. That it was Herod's, and that was the rulers of the world. It's right there in the Bible that killed the boy babies 2 years and under was Herod. They knew that the Messiah was coming, but their aim was to kill him. The same with Moses, kill boy babies, and the same is being done today. So see here, like you said, see, bring him in her house. See, that's the first wrong move right there. As a self-respecting man, see, this is what we've lost. See, the nature of a man is a protector, a provider, and a maintainer. That's our nature. But when I succumb and allow a woman to let me in her house, and then I don't have a job, and you just take care of the baby and stay home and watch as the world turns, the guiding light in General Hospital while I go to work, no self-respecting woman will ever respect a man like that. The sex may be good, but after 30 days, she gonna get tired of that because she taking care of another boy. See, that's why the Honorable Minister Farrakhan see in the nation, I can't get married unless I'm gainfully employed. Did you know that? And then I gotta come with proof that I'm able to take care of the woman. There ain't no shacking. We don't believe in shacking up a man can come to a woman's house and then shack up with her, eat her food while she go out. No, That's why we have to control our narrative and control our schools. We are supposed to teach the nature of male-female relationships in school, not the birds and the bees that I learned from my uncle, that I learned from my gangster uncles and cousins and stuff like that, and where I learned the birds and the bees from. The birds and the bees are supposed to be learned in the mosque, in the church, and in the school, so we can produce a better men and better women. But no, hell no, brother Omar. Nah, that's a boy that she dealing with, and she need to kick his behind out and wait until a man comes with self-respect. I wouldn't dare do that, brother. Excuse me, I'm gonna let the other brothers go. You got me fired up, man.
You're on the roster, Minister. You're on the roster.
So my stance is an absolute opposite. Absolutely. Nowhere that I go is going to change the fact that I'm a man. So if I'm a man in the house, I'm the man of that house. No matter, that's just, nothing is going to change the fact that I'm a man or a father or a dad. You know what I'm saying? So I don't strip any man of that title because of his actions, as if his actions can't improve, change, or he can learn different. And when you do the video games and all of that, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like it just every word you said hurt a little more, but I couldn't be true to myself if I would say that, like, you know, I see that the word father thrown away so easily. Oh, that's not my dad. He did be. So I got to hold the same thing for a man. If I'm a man, I'm a man anywhere I go. My activities at that time is not going to dictate me being a man or not. You know what I mean? I'm not going to revert back to boyhood because, you know, hopefully that brother, you know, can find a way to build and come about that. You know what I mean? But for me, myself, and if I step somewhere and I'm in that situation, I'm the man of that situation. And nothing's going to change my title as a man. So,
Well, and I'm gonna throw something in there as well. And the guy sitting there, I see it like this, you know, if first of all, if you're the man of the house, if you're the man of the house, soon as when she say get out, it's time for you to go. So how are you the man of the house if you can't control it? You know, you can't even control. You can't even control. You know, whether when she say it's time to go, you homeless and you trying to figure out where you gonna go.
Well, what's that?
You know, I mean, the thing is, I'm gonna say,
being the man of the house.
Well, I'm gonna say this. You know, if a man is gonna lead, if he's gonna be the head, and he's gonna lead the woman. Now, I don't have a problem with a man going into a woman and a man coming together, okay? Because there's women out there that got their own homes, and there's men out there that we have our own home. You know, we can come together and we can build together. Right. You know, but if you coming into a home where this woman is already established, you know, and she's established herself already, you know, you come in and think you're gonna, you know, sit there and play games all day and sit around and eat cereal and talk crazy like you running things. Then I mean, you got yourself in a bad situation because all she got to do is say get out.
So what should you call? So
call the police. Call the police, and now you in jail. You know, and there we go again. The black man's in bondage.
Yes.
So
you know, off of one call. You know, so you know, I mean, don't put yourself in that condition. Right. Don't put yourself in that condition. Build yourself. Get your home together, and then you know, or if y'all come, don't go in without being married.
That's right.
But you know, when you married, It's not hers, it's yours.
Right. But in that situation, what do you call, like, I understand what you're saying wholeheartedly, but in that situation, which is a situation that does happen, what does that man consider? The
I mean,
Potentially,
you know, I mean, he can be, you know, just because we come out as the male species, I think manhood, there's a growth into manhood. Now, there's a growth, and true enough, we all can be men and still, you know, still be trying to get ourselves together, still trying to do the right things. Still, you know, when I was in California, I went out there and I was working security, making $5 an hour, $5.50 an hour, 25 years old, working security. I had my own apartment, paying $300 a month. Couldn't nobody tell me what to do.
Right.
Couldn't nobody come in my house and tell me to get out.
Right. But
It's my
what should
place, and I'm taking care of this.
what should a man in that situation consider himself?
potential.
Well, he just got to grow, man. He got to grow. He got to take the rings and he got to move, and then he got to, you know, he got to grow, do the things to bring him up.
But should he relinquish? He should relinquish his title as a man. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't take the like what should he call himself? He's the what of the house, the boy of the house.
Well, if he's in there playing games all day, then he might be the boy of the house.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mr. Muhammad. Go ahead and respond.
Yes, sir.
You know,
But,
hey,
yeah.
it says in the Bible, when I was a boy, I did childish things. When I became a man, I put away those childish things.
That's right. Yes,
I'm gonna let Mr. Muhammad respond.
yes, sir, brother. Potentially, we all are potentially, we're male and we can be men. But in that condition, yes, he can come up out of it. Let's just say a sister does allow a brother to come in. That does happen in our community. But there should be a game plan. A brother should not go there because the nature of a woman, she desires to be made secure. That's the nature of her, to be made secure. And so when a man is not pulling on that which by nature he is, and the woman is a natural tester of a man, she gonna test to see whether or not your word is your bond. And when a man or a brother that's in that condition does not come through, this is why she can't respect him. See, so potentially he's a man, but his condition warrants that he's other than that. So what should happen is a young brother has to know this. When you're dealing with a woman, you can't look at a pretty face. You got to look at responsibility. That's the first thing you got to do when you look at a woman. Minister Farrakhan taught us, because she's going to demand something from you, and that is to take care of me and to provide for my family. You see, and then when we fall on that, she'll be patient, but we can't stay in that condition, brother. We can't stay there and then for 6 months straight, we don't go looking for a job. 6 months straight, we out with our boys smoking and drinking and talking smack, but we not living up to our responsibility. See, then you get her to turn on you, and then like the pastor said, she'll say, this is mine. And you know what that does to a man? When a woman says that, and he know by nature he's supposed to take care of her,
Right.
that does something. So he'll go out and he can't take it. So he'll go out, and then the next thing you know, hell, he done fell into lesbianism or homosexuality because a woman done took him like his manhood. And this is what's going on in our community. So brother, that the knowledge of self and the knowledge of God are two knowledges that we must have, and the knowledge of the female, brother. There ain't the minister told us this, there ain't no such thing as a no good woman. He said, every no good woman that you see has been made no good by no good man. See, this enemy made us no good to one another. See, and then we take on his his mind and spirit when it comes to dealing with our women and when it comes to dealing with us. And we'll never be a free and independent and a proud people when we sitting there as men and women, black men and women, arguing and quarreling with one another. Nah. Qualify.
I'm not saying I don't understand what y'all saying. I absolutely do. I'm just saying, will anything ever get you to relinquish your title as a man?
Not me now, because I know who I am.
Ever.
I'm not.
Because I know who I am.
I'm not gonna put myself in that position.
Yeah, and that right. There you go.
I mean,
Period.
as a
Period.
father, will anything ever get you, if y'all are fathers, will anything get you to relinquish your title as being a father?
No.
Right.
Not me.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. Because it's somebody else, the way somebody else may see you or judge you.
The question that he asked though is he the man of, if he is the man of that
Right.
house.
Okay, if he's not the man of the house, then what is he? By title. I mean, like he's a man, he's in the house.
When you the man of the house, you got the authority. If you sitting there playing games all day, you ain't got no authority.
You're a boy. You're a boy. That's the way the Bible's. See, that's why we call the children of Israel. See, children of Israel means it suggests this. As a child needs pampers, they need one to take care of them. They need food, clothing, and shelter. We as a people are the children of the house of Israel. We need white folks we can produce toilet paper, toothpaste. We need somebody to take care of us all the time. If you don't give me a job, I'm gonna picket. I'm gonna protest. Yeah. See, we showing on another level that we a boy.
A lot of us is boys then.
Yeah,
boys
but that's where Farrakhan come in at.
A lot of those guys that's in that situation that you're talking about, a lot of them guys, I'm gonna tell you, this is what they do. They'll be in that situation, but then they'll force their manhood on the woman. And they'll beat it into her that I'm the man of this house.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right, but on the opposite side, on the opposite side, once we get this in, there are men who are excellent fathers, who maybe have separated from the child's mother. They try to get custody of the child, and the courts may not allow him to get custody because 9 times out of 10, the courts pretty much awards the woman as the one who has custody of the father. The father's the one that is doing visitation rights. So Sharif, you have a program that you're working with for fathers. You want to talk about that program?
Oh yeah. So I have Fathers Defense. The nonprofit side, we help fathers with co-parenting relationships. We work with other organizations, Daddies Right Here, Daddies Universities, and try to help really help men establish their role as fathers, as co-parents, and really stay active in their child's lives in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. So I'm giving you gentlemen a couple of minutes to close out. Say any closing remarks you have on the topic of men taking a stand in the community, and then how can people get in contact with you for those who might want to reach you. So I'm going to start off with Pastor Mark Hopkins.
Well, again, this is a good book. It's what's stopping you? What's stopping you? And when I wrote this book, I had to ask myself what was stopping me. The first, like the minister said, my first, and it's a small, quick read. And the first chapter, who are you? That's the first chapter. Who are you? Who are you? Are you disciplined? Are you that disciplined kind of man? Are you the man? Are you that person that's, and this is not just for men, it's for men and women, for anybody. Are you that person that's gonna that's gonna take no for an answer in life? When you're trying to accomplish your goals, or are you going to go in spite of anything that comes your way? You're going to continue to build. You're going to continue to grow. Are you that person that goes after good character? How do you build your character? Because that's important to you in your life. Those are the little things that we have to learn to to go through. instead of, I think, well, one of the problems with us as young men, we want to be flashy. We want to think that we have it all together. And I got the money, I got this. Take your time. Take your time. When I was growing up, one thing in the back of my mind, there was drug dealers out there, people selling drugs. One thing that held me in the back of my mind, I said, okay, they got money, whatever they got. But I tell you what, I'm not looking over my back, running from the police. I got peace. I got peace. And I was making, like I said, 25 years old, making $5.50 an hour and still buying stuff for the kids. Build your character. Build your character. Start at the bottom and grow. And you continue to move in that way, you'll be successful in life.
So how can people get the book?
They can go to, I just got my new website, which is We Can Online. That's WECAAN. We Can Online. They can go to that, or they can just go straight to, that's going to take them to Amazon, or they can just Google it, go straight to Amazon, and they can buy it off of Amazon as well.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Robert Muhammad, closing comments.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Brother Omar. Fabulous show. I wanna close like this, and I would be remiss in my duty as your brother to not reiterate the words of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan that he said during the Swan Song. You can catch that lecture that he did in February. You see now, we are in the judgment of God. We are in the book of Revelations right now. You see America falling right before your eyes, and you looking at people just do not know where to turn. The pressures of the fall of a world is so horrific right now. So people are imploding in on themselves. The reason why, it is because we don't have the knowledge or the requisite knowledge to get up out of a falling and a dying world. Someone said earlier about whether or not, I think Brother Omar mentioned about the leadership. Well, you've had a leader that's been hiding in plain sight, Minister Farrakhan, who has stood the test of time. I think he deserves our support and our help, and we should listen to him. He told us in the Swan Song that America is not going to see any more good days. It's going to be widespread death, and America is about to go to war. They're going to be drawn in to this war in Russia. And we will go away in the hundreds and the thousands, but come back in the tens if we make it back. This is the war, a war that is called Armageddon, that will be a graveyard, he said, because that place that God is going to allow them to fight one another. On top of that, famine is coming. Within the next 6 months, you should store food in your homes, brothers. To last you at least 6 months, beans. They are not telling you this, but they're trickling it out about famine and about the recession. See, Jesus first said it like this: it's a pestilence. Wasn't it the pestilence that we still in, called COVID? That hit first. Next is famine. That's coming. Have not you seen what happened? Food distribution centers have caught on fire in America in the last year. They haven't said anything like that. Over 3,000 cattle dead down in Texas. See? And so the American people, as you go to the supermarkets, you're looking at look at the cupboards. They're being bare, but they're not telling you. See, listen to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. God has given us a warner to get us up out of this condition that we're in. And if our former slave masters would let us go, God would have mercy on our former slave masters and give them an extension of time. But if they don't let us go, you'll see more and more rain, hail, snow, earthquake, the heat. Watch this summer, because God is after the black man and woman, and our enemies know this, but they got us, and they're saying, God, come and get them. Thank you again, Brother Omar. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very
20
much, Robert.
28th and Washington Street this
There you go.
Sunday.
There you go.
28th and Washington Street this Sunday, 11 o'clock. Come hear the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Look forward to having you.
Okay, Sharif, close us out.
Sharif Green, Father's Defense. Catch me on Facebook. Be the change that you want to see. Simple.
All right, gentlemen. I'd like to thank the audience for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Gentlemen, it was a great show. I enjoyed all three of you. Take care. Have a safe week. God bless and peace.
Peace.
All right,
care.
thanks, Phil.
All right, nice meeting you guys.
Peace, peace. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, brothers. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Mhm.
God bless. Stay
God
safe.
bless.